Hephaestus, the divine smith, is one of the most fascinating Olympian gods. Unlike his fellow gods, he is often portrayed as physically imperfect, lame or deformed, but his mind and hands are unmatched in skill. He is the master craftsman of the cosmos, forging divine weapons, armor, and wonders that even gods envy. Born of Hera, sometimes alone and sometimes with Zeus, Hephaestus' story is marked by rejection, exile, and eventual triumph. Though cast out of Olympus for his deformity, he returned as a god whose creations could rival the works of the universe itself. His forge is said to lie beneath volcanoes, where flames dance like living beings and the air trembles with the rhythm of hammer on anvil. Unlike Ares, the god of war, Hephaestus wields creation rather than destruction. His works are precise, beautiful, and imbued with divine power, from the chains that bind Prometheus to the armor of Achilles. Yet, despite his godly power, Hephaestus' tales are also stories of love, cunning, and revenge, revealing a god of great complexity, brilliant, meticulous, and deeply human in his emotions. In one version of his birth, Hephaestus is born solely from Hera, without Zeus' involvement. Hera, proud and determined, wishes to create a child equal to the other gods. But when Hephaestus is born, he is malformed, lame, with a twisted leg. The other gods, who prize beauty and perfection, mock the child. Hera, ashamed of his deformity, casts him from Olympus. He falls through the clouds, crashing into the sea below. The waves rise and fall like a chaotic symphony, and the sea nymph Thetis discovers him, cradling him in her arms. "You are strong, little one," Thetis whispers, guiding him to safety. "Even the gods will come to need your hands and mind." Here, Hephaestus' story begins as a tale of resilience. Rejected for appearances, he learns that true power lies in skill, intelligence, and determination. The fall also marks him as a god who bridges the world of mortals and immortals, able to experience pain, exile, and triumph. Despite being cast out, Hephaestus eventually returns to Olympus, but not without cleverness and ingenuity. In one myth, he crafts a magnificent golden throne for Hera, a gift so exquisite that it seems alive. When Hera sits upon it, she finds herself trapped by invisible chains. Hephaestus appears, his voice calm but tinged with defiance. "Mother, you cast me aside for what you saw, not for who I am. Now I ask for my place among the gods, as a master of creation, not merely a child of beauty." Hera, impressed and chagrined, relents. Hephaestus is lifted back to Olympus, not as a passive god, but as one whose power is undeniable. This myth illustrates that intelligence and craft can overcome prejudice, and that Hephaestus' exile only strengthened his mastery of creation. Hephaestus' love life is intertwined with the goddess of beauty, Aphrodite. The gods, noting his skill and her allure, arranged their marriage. But their union was fraught with tension. Aphrodite, drawn to Ares, the god of war, often strayed. One famous tale tells how Hephaestus discovered the affair between Aphrodite and Ares. Clever and patient, he forged a nearly invisible golden net, so fine and strong that it could trap even the swiftest of lovers. Late one night, he ensnared the two in the act. Trapped, they struggled, calling out for release. Hephaestus summoned the other gods to witness their shame. "Behold," he said, his voice echoing with quiet fury, "even gods are subject to my craft. No deceit can escape the skill of Hephaestus." The gods laughed, but Hephaestus' point was clear: his intellect and skill gave him power beyond mere strength or beauty. This myth showcases his cunning and the respect, even fear, that his creations commanded. In one version of the myth, Zeus, angry at humans for accepting fire from Prometheus, orders the creation of Pandora, the first mortal woman. Hephaestus is tasked with shaping her from earth and water, crafting her form with perfection and care. With each strike of his hammer, life sparks in her fingers and hair. Athena imbues her with skill and adornment, Aphrodite grants her beauty and charm, Hermes gifts her with cunning. When Pandora opens the fateful jar, releasing evils upon the world, Hephaestus' work is remembered as a paradox, his creation is both magnificent and consequential, a reminder that skill and beauty can shape destiny, for better or worse. During the Trojan War, Hephaestus' forge becomes legendary. When Patroclus is slain, Achilles laments and prays for new armor. Hephaestus answers, descending from his volcanic forge. The god works tirelessly, hammering bronze and gold, forging a shield that tells the story of the cosmos itself. Cities at peace and war, fields and oceans, festivals and plagues. Each detail is alive, a testament to Hephaestus' unparalleled skill. Even in war, there is beauty, Hephaestus says to the grieving hero. Let this shield remind you that creation can endure what destruction cannot. This myth demonstrates how Hephaestus' work bridges life and death, war and art, mortality and immortality. Hephaestus often collaborates with the Cyclopes, master smiths in their own right. One tale tells of a dispute. The Cyclopes demand recognition for their work, while Hephaestus seeks control of the forge. Hephaestus, patient and clever, challenges them to craft a weapon that could rival his own. As the sparks fly and metal sings, the Cyclopes create mighty hammers and lightning-forged weapons. Hephaestus, smiling, adds his signature touch, perfecting each creation. Even the strongest cannot surpass craft tempered by wisdom, he says. The Cyclopes bow to his skill, acknowledging that true mastery combines power, knowledge, and patience. Prometheus, the cunning titan who gave fire to humans, angered Zeus by empowering mortals. To punish him, Zeus commanded Hephaestus to bind Prometheus to a mountain in the Caucasus. The forge's flames roared as Hephaestus approached the titan. Despite his duty, he felt a pang of sympathy. Prometheus' gift had aided humans, much like Hephaestus' creations. Do not resist, Prometheus, he said gently, hammer in hand. This is the will of Zeus, though I respect your cause. Chains of unbreakable adamantine wrapped around Prometheus, each link forged with divine precision. As the god's hammer rang, Prometheus grimaced but remained silent. Even in punishment, Hephaestus' work was immaculate, a blend of cruelty and perfection. The myth underscores Hephaestus' duality, obedient to the gods yet capable of empathy. He is a god of skill, bound by duty, yet aware of morality beyond Olympus. Hephaestus' genius was not limited to weapons. He crafted lifelike automatons, self-moving servants of gold and silver to assist him in his forge. These creations could walk, speak, and even perform tasks with human dexterity. In one story, a mortal wandering near a volcanic mountain stumbled upon the gleaming automatons. They polished armor, shaped molten metal, and arranged tools as if conscious. The mortal, awestruck, whispered, "Surely this is magic beyond human imagination." Hephaestus appeared, smiling beneath soot-streaked brows. It is not magic, but precision, patience, and craft. Every movement, every strike, is calculated. Creation is the ultimate power. This myth emphasizes Hephaestus' innovation and his role as the divine engineer of Olympus. Through him, skill becomes alive, and art becomes utility. When Heracles faced impossible trials, Hephaestus provided divine aid. One of the most famous stories involves the creation of Heracles' shield, forged to withstand attacks from monstrous creatures and gods alike. The forge trembled as Hephaestus hammered, molten bronze flowing like liquid sunlight. He inscribed protective symbols, imbuing the shield with divine energy. "Carry this well," he told Heracles. "But remember, the strongest armor cannot replace courage and wisdom." The shield not only protected but inspired awe, a testament to Hephaestus' philosophy: power is meaningless without thought, courage, and purpose. Hephaestus' forge was said to lie beneath volcanoes, especially Mount Etna. Some myths depict him battling fiery monsters or crafting weapons that cause eruptions. One story tells of Typhon, the monstrous serpent of chaos, threatening Olympus. Hephaestus descended into his volcano, flames licking his feet, smoke curling around him like a cloak. Sparks from his hammer shot into the sky, creating a storm of molten rock. He fashioned weapons of fire and lightning, ultimately driving Typhon back into the depths. "The world's fury is but another material to shape," he said, sweat mixing with soot. This myth portrays Hephaestus as both creator and protector, using his skill to maintain cosmic balance. Erichthonius, the legendary king of Athens, was born from a divine accident involving Hephaestus. The god desired Athena, but she resisted. In his lust, he pursued her, and she fled, dropping the seed. Gaia, the earth, absorbed it, giving birth to Erichthonius. Hephaestus, though ashamed, accepted the miracle. Athena took the child, raising him to rule wisely. The myth emphasizes Hephaestus' complex nature, flawed yet integral to divine plans. His actions, even mistakes, shape history. One tale tells of Hephaestus crafting a golden throne for Olympus, not to trap, but to honor the gods. Each chair sparkled like the sun, with intricate engravings of gods and mortals, battles and feasts. When Zeus and Hera sat, they marveled at the detail. The engraved gods seemed alive, their expressions changing in the flickering light of the forge. "Even immortals can be humbled by creation," Hephaestus said, smiling. The myth showcases the divine artistry and subtle power inherent in his craft. Beauty itself is a form of influence. One of Hephaestus' most famous achievements was the creation of Zeus' thunderbolts, the ultimate weapon of the king of the gods. The story begins with Zeus commanding Hephaestus to forge a weapon that could embody the power of the sky itself. Hephaestus descended into his volcanic forge, where rivers of molten metal flowed and the air shimmered with heat. Sparks flew like tiny stars as he worked tirelessly. "Father of gods," Hephaestus murmured, "let this weapon strike with justice, not malice. Let it reflect power guided by wisdom." He hammered, shaped, and cooled, repeatedly testing each bolt. When he finally presented them, they shimmered with raw energy, crackling faintly even in still air. Zeus raised the first thunderbolt, feeling the surge of divine force, and declared it perfect. This myth emphasizes Hephaestus' skill and precision. Even the king of gods relies on his craft. Hephaestus' hands shape destiny itself. Following Prometheus' theft of fire, Zeus sought revenge on humanity by creating Pandora, the first woman. Hephaestus was tasked with shaping her body from clay, giving her beauty, life, and durability. He labored for days, sculpting her form with painstaking detail. Every curve, every joint was perfect, her hands could mold the earth, and her eyes reflected light like twin stars. When he finished, Athena clothed her, Aphrodite granted her irresistible charm, and Hermes bestowed cunning and guile. Hephaestus stepped back, admiring his creation. "This form may carry both beauty and peril," he whispered. "It is the work of skill, yet the hand of fate shapes the soul." This myth highlights the paradox of Hephaestus' genius. His creations bring both wonder and unintended consequences, shaping human destiny through divine craftsmanship. Hephaestus' talents played a key role in the Trojan War. When Patroclus fell and Achilles mourned, he prayed to the god of the forge for armor strong enough to face Hector. Hephaestus descended from his volcanic mountain, hammer in hand. Molten bronze glowed like the heart of a star as he forged armor that seemed alive, engraved with scenes of earth, sea, and sky. "Even in the shadow of war," Hephaestus said, "there is room for beauty. Let this shield remind its bearer of the world he fights to protect." The armor was unmatched, impenetrable, radiant, and imbued with divine artistry. The myth underscores how Hephaestus' creations bridged survival, artistry, and divine intervention. Hephaestus, betrayed by Aphrodite's infidelity with Ares, demonstrated his cunning and patience. Instead of confronting them immediately, he crafted a nearly invisible golden net, impossibly fine yet unbreakable. One night, he ensnared the lovers mid-embrace. He called the gods to witness. "Even gods, drunk on passion, cannot escape the hand of skill," he said, his voice calm but cutting. Ares struggled but could not break free, and Aphrodite's beauty could not conceal her embarrassment. The gods laughed, but Hephaestus' point was clear: intellect and craft triumph where strength and charm fail. This myth shows Hephaestus' strategic mind, turning personal pain into demonstration of divine power. To assist him in the forge, Hephaestus created automatons, living statues of gold and silver that could move, speak, and serve. One myth tells of a mortal who stumbled upon the forge. The mortal watched in awe as golden hands polished weapons, silver feet carried molten metal, and mechanical eyes observed with uncanny precision. "It is not magic," Hephaestus said, appearing from smoke and fire. "It is skill, patience, and intelligence, given life by craft." These automatons exemplify Hephaestus' role as the divine engineer, showing that creation itself can be animated by knowledge and mastery. Legends say that Hephaestus' forge lies beneath volcanoes, especially Mount Etna. One tale tells of him forging weapons during a cosmic battle against Typhon, the monstrous serpent of chaos. Lava flowed like molten rivers as Hephaestus hammered with immense strength. Sparks flew into the sky, creating a storm of fire and ash. With his creations, he defeated Typhon, casting the monster back into the underworld. "The world's fury is but another material to shape," he declared, sweat mixing with soot. This myth portrays Hephaestus as a protector, shaping chaos into order through skill and fire. When Achilles' close companion Patroclus fell in battle, grief-stricken, he begged Hephaestus for armor that could match the strength of gods. Hephaestus descended to his forge, molten bronze swirling like rivers of fire. His hammer rang like thunder, sparks flying into the cavern ceiling. Hours turned into days as he worked tirelessly, shaping the armor with incredible precision. Every plate was inscribed with scenes of the cosmos, oceans, mountains, stars, and the gods themselves. The helmet glimmered like the sun at dawn, the shield radiated divine energy, reflecting the hopes and fears of mortals. When Achilles donned the armor, it seemed as though he had become more than mortal. Hephaestus smiled faintly, soot-streaked face glinting in the forge's heat. Even the strongest warrior requires guidance from skill and wisdom. "Take care, child of Peleus, for bravery alone cannot win the day." This myth emphasizes Hephaestus' role not just as a maker of weapons, but as a shaper of destinies. To honor the gods and showcase his genius, Hephaestus once forged a golden throne for Olympus. But this was no ordinary seat, it shimmered with life, engraved with stories of gods and men, battles and feasts, love and betrayal. Each carving seemed to move subtly, as if alive, and even the faintest touch sent vibrations through the golden surface. When Zeus and Hera sat, they felt the weight of history and the subtle warning of mortality. "Skill can humble the mighty," Hephaestus said softly, watching the monarchs of Olympus admire his work. Even immortals are not immune to the touch of creation. This myth highlights Hephaestus' artistry and philosophy, that power and influence can lie in craft, subtlety, and the beauty of creation. Following Prometheus' theft of fire, Zeus sought to punish humanity by creating Pandora, the first woman, who would bring both gifts and misfortune to mortals. Hephaestus was tasked with shaping her from clay. For days, he molded her body, perfecting every line, every joint, every feature. Her eyes shimmered like stars, her hair flowed like golden threads, her hands and feet sculpted for both grace and strength. "Beauty can be a gift, and yet a burden," he murmured, stepping back to admire his work. Athena clothed her, Aphrodite granted charm, Hermes gave cunning. Pandora's presence on earth was the intersection of divine craftsmanship and fate, and Hephaestus' hands were the bridge between gods and humans. Zeus punished Prometheus for giving fire to humanity by binding him to a mountain. Though reluctant, Hephaestus was ordered to forge the chains. Molten metal hissed as Hephaestus hammered adamantine into unbreakable links. He spoke softly to the Titan, sympathy in his voice. "Even in punishment, your gift is noble. I forge not to harm you, but because it is the will of Olympus." Prometheus grimaced, yet he saw the care in the gods' work. This myth reflects Hephaestus' duality, obedient to the gods yet capable of empathy. To assist him in the forge, Hephaestus created lifelike automatons. Gold and silver figures moved with precision, polishing weapons, carrying molten metal, and even mimicking speech. One day, a mortal stumbled upon the forge. He watched in awe as the golden hands worked, the silver feet carried molten tools, and the mechanical eyes seemed almost conscious. "It is not magic," Hephaestus said, appearing from the smoke. "It is knowledge, patience, and the art of creation brought to life." This myth showcases Hephaestus as the divine engineer, his skill is life-giving, and his creations extend the reach of the gods themselves. Legends say that Hephaestus' forge lies beneath volcanoes, like Mount Etna. One story tells of him battling Typhon, the monstrous serpent of chaos threatening Olympus. Lava and fire swirled as Hephaestus hammered weapons with unparalleled skill. Sparks shot into the sky like meteors, forming shields, swords, and armor for the gods. With his creations, Typhon was finally subdued and cast back into the depths. "The fury of the world is but raw material for craft," Hephaestus declared, sweat and soot mixing in his hair. This myth paints him as a protector, using intellect and skill to turn chaos into order.